The world is a mysterious place, filled with myths and legends. Sometimes, though, these stories turn out to be much more real than you'd initially believe. Today, in the 4th video from the Cherryton Archives, I want to delve a little bit deeper into the subject of the paranormal and supernatural, both about the stories passed around by beasts, but also their very real appearances. There are plenty of beliefs and strange encounters to talk about. So, to ease us into this, let us start by talking about the most well-known legend. The legend of the T-Rex, as well as the lesser-known Brachiosaurus. As I mentioned in my 2nd video, which was about the history of the Beastars universe, dinosaurs are seen as holy creatures. The well-known Meteor Festival honors them specifically, as well as the birth of modern beasts. The T-Rex is seen as the great ancestor, the one that rose from the ashes of the old world that was destroyed by the meteor. It sprouted wings, turned into a bird, and as this mythical bird, gave birth to the beast that we know in the modern day. Besides the aforementioned Meteor Festival, another event that commemorates this is Rexmas, which specifically honors the Rex. All of this shows that the T-Rex is the most worshipped and revered holy figure. But he's not the only one. Whilst lesser known, the Brachiosaurus too is a holy figure. This one is worshipped seemingly exclusively by herbivores. Every odd month, the frozen neck bone of this dinosaur is the centerpiece of a festival known as the Wisdom Soul Festival. The water of the ice that contains the bone being seen as a purifying holy water. During this festival, herbivores attempt to throw coins into the offertory placed there. Succeeding in throwing it in results in being safe from devourings the next odd month. Those who miss are not doomed though, as they can purchase an amulet for protection instead. There is also a special Wisdom Soul Sake, the taste of which is revolting to carnivores. It apparently also provides good luck and protection. This shows that supernatural and magic rituals are definitely present within this universe. Whether or not they work is up for debate, especially since this festival seems very focused on monetary gain, perhaps even exploiting the fears of herbivores. Nevertheless, this does beg the question, what other rituals are being practiced out there? Carnivores have their own exclusive beliefs as well. Take for example felines. The Shishigumi explained that Felidae have a few seemingly supernatural abilities. The first is a rather funny one, and might be more of a superstition fueled by coincidence. The belief that decisions can be made simply by pulling out their whiskers, holding them in a fist, then watching in what direction the exposed halves drop. According to the Shishigumi, this is a very effective and proven tactic, one that has brought them only success so far. The other one that is more serious and proven, is their death sense. Now, every creature has a sense of death. When gravely wounded or deathly ill, basically all creatures have a sense that their end is near. With felines, however, it goes a little bit deeper. They are said to be the only beasts that actively make their own funeral arrangements, that they say their final goodbyes and tie up loose ends before their death. I wonder how far ahead this sense warrants them, and in how much detail. Ibuki can be argued for that he senses death was coming through this very instinct, perhaps even foreseeing Louis leaving the Shishigumi, thus telling Free to shoot him once Louis inevitably does, and Ibuki attempts to devour him. It is likely that this was a pre-planned suicide by Ibuki, in case Louis, as predicted, would leave, as the Shishigumi under Louis was perhaps the only thing that Ibuki still wanted to live for. Strange abilities, of course, aren't exclusive to felines. When Legoshi ate a moth's larvae, he had a vision where he spoke to the spirit of the dead moth, who gave him advice and told him how insects view the world differently from the bigger, sapient land beasts. This wouldn't be the only time that the dead are spoken to, but that's for later. Let us for now keep our focus on the moth. Later, there is a moment where Legoshi seemingly disappears in a swarm of moths, which Riz himself actually witnesses and is confused and overwhelmed by. Legoshi then appears from above and strikes down at Riz. This is almost impossible to explain as anything but a supernatural ability. I highly doubt that this was a shared hallucination, especially since Riz had no connection to moths at all. Perhaps this was an ability or blessing by the dead Moth to aid Legoshi in his fight, which adds credibility that Legoshi's conversation with the Moth spirit was very real. This wouldn't be the only strange, supernatural ability that he would learn. Later on with Q, he learns about Chimeras. These apparitions are said to be imaginary on multiple occasions, which might make it purely psychological. However, it is also shown and said that opponents can very well see the manifestation of said chimera. With Q, her body posture and use of weapons could have been what Legoshi was focusing on. But Q being able to tell what chimera Legoshi manifested, and vice versa, shows me that chimeras are definitely a real manifestation, one that only the opponent and creator can see, according to San. They may not be ghosts or anything physical, but they most certainly are part of a supernatural ability. Another apparition, one which turned out to not be so supernatural, well, aside from the ability to completely disappear from the story, was Rokume, also known as Six Eyes. They were the cause of rumor and speculation that a ghost was stalking Lecture Hall 2. The ghost of none other than the unfortunately recently departed alpaca named Tem. Of course, this ghost turned out to merely be the rattlesnake security guard of Cherryton Academy. Still, the belief that a monstrous ghost can stalk the areas where they died is apparently one that is common enough to become a widely believed rumor. Another obviously fictional source of the supernatural is the game Rezoodent Evil that is popular with the 701 candidate. This might not say much at first, but the existence of this series implies that monsters and creatures of fiction and legend outside of just ghosts do exist within beast culture. I can only wonder what kind of creatures and monsters the beast dreamed up in their folklore and what their stories are. Unfortunately, we will likely never know for sure. Let us now again look at some more substantial evidence for the supernatural, one that has to do with a much more serious and controversial topic: devouring. When a carnivore devours another beast, that beast becomes part of the carnivore in more ways than just the transference of nutrients and proteins. After Louis' leg was eaten, he would consistently feel pain in that area, but only at very specific moments. That is when Legoshi, the one who ate that leg, was in severe pain or injured himself. Louis didn't even have to see it. He didn't have to be there personally, even when he was far removed from Legoshi. Whenever Legoshi was badly injured, so would Louis feel pain in the place where his leg used to be. This proves that devouring is something more than just eating, than just fulfilling some primal desire to feed yourself. In a very real way, the prey becomes part of the predator. It is almost a sort of transference of being, of a deeper spiritual essence. Even the phantom limb phenomenon does not explain this. If Louis just experienced pain at random parts of the day in that area, it would. But the fact that he felt this precisely when Legoshi was hurt, and only then, proves there is something unexplainable and supernatural to it. Now, let us take a short break from land animals. In my last video regarding the black market, I ended up talking about fish and other sea creatures. Most of you watching are probably already aware, but for those who are not, fish and sea creatures are basically just as sapient as land creatures. They have their own rituals and their own beliefs. Their culture is very different from land beasts. The aquatic cultures have no fear of death. Devouring, instead of being a heinous crime, is just part of the circle of life, and death is just a natural end to all beasts within it. Though, the end might not be the right words. For you see, the aquatic cultures believe that after death, one is simply reborn, living again as another creature. Death could be seen as a new beginning instead. And as we will see soon, the belief that death is not the end, but rather the beginning of a new state of being, is not too far from the truth. Back on land, we have perhaps the biggest evidence that the supernatural is indeed a real thing in Beastars. After Legoshi was shot by Melon, he ended up in a deep coma due to his injuries. During this coma, he ended up having an out-of-body experience. But he was not alone, for he was with someone he hadn't seen for a very long time. His departed mother, Leano. The two went on to have a long conversation, talking about how much Legoshi had grown and about Leano's past, with her shedding light upon her experiences as a hybrid, how it all affected her both psychologically and physically. Her body began to change, her fur began to shed, making way for scales. This change destroyed her mentally. The perfect wolf she wanted to be began to be corrupted by her Komodo dragon side in her eyes. She knew how society treated hybrids. The life she had grown so fond of was falling apart before her very eyes. She desperately wanted a child, so she got herself pregnant as soon as she could, before her body would make it impossible for her to find a partner in such a cruel and judgmental society. After conceiving Legoshi, she isolated herself more and more, until she was completely locked away in a self-made prison. She only ever interacted with Legoshi through a hole in the door, checking Legoshi's features, hoping that he would not change like she had. Then, one night, she finally emerged from her self-imposed isolation. But it was not to be a moment of triumph, of overcoming the prejudice of society or herself. Instead, she went to Legoshi's room, gave him one final hug, and embraced her son for just a short while, feeling a little bit of happiness. When the embrace ended and she left Legoshi behind once more, she took her own life, too overwhelmed by the shame, by the fear, and by all the negative stigma associated with hybrids. She told Legoshi things he did not yet fully know or understand, and Legoshi in return spoke to her, telling her of his own regrets. Leano told her son that she wants him to keep on living, to not give up. This sparked Legoshi to wake up from his coma, to do just as his mother said, to keep living on, to not give up, and to keep fighting. It was a true interaction between two beings, a moment where two souls met, one of the departed and one of the living. There is no doubt in my mind that this wasn't a dream, that this wasn't some sort of manifestation in Legoshi's mind. Of course, the possibility exists, but this whole interaction, the information shared that Legoshi didn't yet know about, combined with the pre-existing supernatural events, from minor and possible superstition to the clearly paranormal and unexplainable, leads me to believe that all of this really did happen, that Legoshi did speak to the spirit of his dead mother. In short, to those who were skeptical, I think I have given enough proof to show that indeed the paranormal does exist within this universe. Who knows how many myths and legends are actually true stories within this world? The supernatural is definitely an interesting yet barely explored and maybe even complicated subject to some beasts, as in Beastars it is very rarely talked about. In my opinion though, I kinda like that. There is so much for people to speculate about and to come up with their own conclusions. It makes the paranormal stuff exciting and special on the very rare occasions where they do happen or come up. Whilst my reach is limited, I still hope that the few who will stumble across and watch this video will be able to use this as a guide of sorts to all the stranger, more unexplainable things shown in this series. In fact, if any of you are truly interested in this subject as well, then I would not only like the feedback on this video, but I would also like to hear your opinions on everything discussed here today. I would love to read theories or even self-made myths and legends if you have any. It would be fun if we could expand the world of Beastars together, to make it feel that much more alive. And with that, I think I've said everything I needed to say. I thank you all very much for watching if you made it this long. It really means a lot. Again, I would love to hear from all of you in the comments down below. This was a very fun video to make, and I am glad that I managed to release this one sooner than the last one. Hopefully, I can keep this pace up and be a bit more consistent with uploads. With everything being said, I wish you, whenever you are, wherever you are, a great day, and hopefully I'll see you all back again here in the Cherryton Archives.